Hi, it's Jack from Jack's Travels. This morning I'm making kimchi. My daughter has huge gardens outside of this house, and sometimes last year and this year we ended up with a lot of cabbage. So I'm going to kimchi it because it's a way to both shrink it and condense it, and I'll be able to stick it in the fridge and it'll keep all winter long. This calls for 2 pounds of cabbage, and I think I ended up with about 8 pounds of cabbage. So I have to remember to multiply everything times 4. I did already prep and chop up the cabbage into, you want to go for about 1-inch squares. And then, so you get that done, put it into a bowl. And then there's a 1/4 cup of salt goes on there for each 2 pounds. And that's times 4, so it ended up being a cup of salt. So I sprinkled a little more than half in the big bowl, and what was left in this bowl. And then the next step, once you sprinkle the salt in there, is to massage it. And this one I already massaged, and this was heaped up when I first started, but it shrinks down. Once you get the salt in there and get the massage action going, it shrinks it right down, which is nice because it's a lot of cabbage that's been occupying the corner of my kitchen. I've been putting this off for a few days, so finally getting around to it. So this one has already started shrinking. Now this one I'll massage a little bit and sort of break up the cubes while I go. And the salt that you use is, it could be sea salt, or it could be, I used kosher salt. But you don't want iodized salt. The culture that's naturally on the cabbage, I think it doesn't want iodine. So use some salt without that. And so you get the chunks broken up, and try to massage it all the way through. Sort of squish them up a little bit while you go. I've heard that the massaging step is really important. I've skipped it before and just used a spoon. I don't always want to sink my hands into a bowl of salty cabbage, but this is important. So, doesn't have to be perfect. Nothing has to be perfect. Just has to be good enough. There we go. Okay, that's worked through pretty well. Whoops. There's a pretty good amount of cabbage on the floor right now. It'll probably stick to my socks a few more times before I'm irritated enough to actually get down there and clean it up. The dogs are no help at all with cabbage, just so you know. Carrots they'll take care of. Any kind of meat, dairy product, they're there, cleaning it up for you. Donuts, they like donuts, but not cabbage. There's a piece of core I missed before. I'll throw that, we'll give that to the chickens. Okay, that feels pretty good. Doesn't feel quite as gritty as I'd like to. I'm going to add just a little bit more salt. Kosher salt. There we go, that looks good. Okay, that feels better. So your next step with the cabbage is to put some water in there. Just be cold tap water. And you want to put in enough water to just cover so that the cabbage is covered. So I have a couple of lids. Basically, you want something that fits down inside the bowl or pan or whatever container you're using so that it keeps the cabbage submerged in the water. go. Okay. Now we can let those sit. I think it's about 8 hours. I've been known to leave it overnight and then forget about it for half a day, but so it's not a hard and fast rule. The kimchi still came out fine, but you at least want it to sit in that brine for 8 hours and let the little cultures and the salt do their thing. So I like to prepare the paste that we're going to add before we put it in jars ahead of time. Wants a tablespoon of fresh ginger. I have some ginger root right here. I always use way more ginger than the recipe calls for, and I've certainly not gotten any complaints. Usually, my family members that have tried my kimchi say the ginger's really good, so I don't think you can use too much ginger in a recipe. Okay, what else? Garlic, 6 cloves of garlic. But, you know, I'm not a garlic fan. I used to love it, and now it just does unpleasant things to my body. But it's an important part of the kimchi, and I don't really make kimchi for me. I eat it once in a while in a sandwich, but I'm not a huge kimchi eater. But I mostly make it for my family, and those guys love garlic and hot peppers, so we'll put plenty of that in there, right? Okay. And it says 1 shallot. I don't have a shallot, but I have this giant leek, and it will take care of that. And then the gochugaru, and what I have is gochujang. I have no idea if they're exactly the same thing, but I've used this before, and it works great. And 2 tablespoons of fish sauce. There is just about nothing you can do to substitute for fish sauce. I mean, you could probably use something else like soy sauce, but there's no substitute for this stuff. Have you had fish sauce? Have you smelled fish sauce? It's an important part of the recipe. I don't substitute that one. And 2 teaspoons of sugar to top it off. Okay, so starting at the top of the list, the radishes and the carrots, which I will stick in the fridge and add in later. Like I said, I like to take up the opportunity while I'm in the kitchen. I try to get as much done as possible, because mostly I'm thinking about the thing I'm going to do next. Outside, it's going to be like 70 degrees today, and we're in Vermont, and it's like October something, mid-October. So I'm really psyched to get outside. So I thought I would take care of all of the rest of the prep work for this kimchi, because I can't always force myself to get back in the kitchen. So prep it now while the prepping's good. Okay, so I just chop these up about like that. It's nice to have a little color in your kimchi. And this is standard cabbage. Most recipes call for like Napa cabbage. I think my favorite thing to use is red cabbage because it's beautiful. So let's get these, carrots chopped up here. Sometimes I grate them. I think today I'm just gonna chop them. Well, I don't know. That's gonna be annoying. If I like make a sandwich, I'm gonna have these little disc carrots falling out all over the place every time I take a bite. I guess I should grate them. Okay. I have this little food processor that I got at a thrift store. It must have been 10 years ago. I paid 15 bucks for it. And it is the best thing. It's such a little soldier. Even when I had a cafe, we used to use this on a daily basis, grating up tons of stuff. Look at this little vintage Hamilton Beach brand. Better than any new product I can get right now. And it was only 15 bucks. Okay, let's get these. Of course, I lost the pusher, so I have to get creative about that. Don't worry. No trips to the ER today. No grated fingertips. I just cut the ends off of these carrots. Violet! Carrots! Where are you? That's one thing dogs will eat. Oh, hi Pluto. Here, you can have them. There we go. What the dogs don't get, the chickens will get. Okay, let's get things straight. Getting nervous? Oh my God, you see this. Ah! That's good. Okay, here we have some grated carrots. It's nice to add, it adds sweetness and color in the kimchi. That'll be really nice. Especially with the white cabbage, gotta have some color. Okay. Huh, Pluto didn't eat any of the carrots. I guess I have to let the big dog in. Okay, and we'll live if we have a few bigger chunks of carrot in there. There we go. Now my ginger just ran away here. You see how I'm using my stovetop for counter space? I have a fairly small kitchen. I'm really lucky because my husband is a knife maker. So I always have super sharp, awesome kitchen knives. This isn't even my favorite one. This is actually a German kitchen knife that he bought the blade and then fitted it with a handle. My favorite kitchen knife is this one. This is the knife I use for almost everything. It was just involved with some bread cutting over there, so I forgot to use it, but it's a Japanese style. It has this beautiful hammer work here. That's my favorite kind of knife. I use this knife for almost everything I do in the kitchen. My favorite, I'm lucky. He even made me, this was the first knife he ever made for me. They're all high carbon steel, so they're not shiny. So yeah, favorite knife, lucky cook here. It's a nice trade-off. He makes beautiful knives and keeps all of the knives in the kitchen super sharp, and I make him kimchi. Okay. Here's our ginger. I think I'm going to use this whole thing, which I think if you measure it in thumbs, there's probably 1, 2, 3.5 thumbs worth of ginger, I think. And yep, might as well use it. I'm having to carve off a little bit of mold here and there, so I should definitely use it up. Still perfectly good though. There was some selective chopping I had to do with my cabbage. My daughter has a farm stand and she sells some of her produce at the farmers markets. And so she, of course, takes the really super prime, beautiful stuff and to market. So sometimes there's some selective cutting I have to do. I am perfectly, totally happy to utilize all of the produce. I'm not fussy. And it takes a little more elbow grease to carve bits off here and there, but that's fine. It's pretty amazing. I mean, we've had so much fresh produce this summer. Every year her gardens get a little bigger. And this year was incredible. There was one day I walked out into the middle of the gardens and just started weeping because I'm so proud of the work that my girls do. I love it when I especially love it when they're better at me than doing something. Like they surpass anything I could ever do. All the time. Okay, that is a pretty significant amount of ginger. Let's see how much volume it is. I have this little, what is this, a quarter cup? There's more than that. There's a half cup measure. Yeah, I'm literally putting a half a cup of chopped ginger in the kimchi. Awesome, it's gonna be so good. Okay, I'll dump that in there too. Or wait, no, we don't want that in there. We want that in there. Okay, I'm gonna leave a little bit of ginger in here. This part of the produce is going to just go in once we get the cabbage ready, which will be at the end of the day or tomorrow morning. I'll end up mixing this in with the cabbage. But what I'm putting in this food processor here. Let's see if I can put it in view. Cabbage, there we go. What I'm putting in this food processor, I'm going to grind into a paste that will be added to the jars. So that. Okay. Now we got 6 cloves of garlic. Oh, right, but it's ×4, so 24, which I don't have, but that's okay, because the most important thing is to get that cabbage used up and put in a jar. It's going to be good, despite not having the perfect quantities of everything, it's still going to be good. That's the awesome thing about kimchi. It always tastes a little different because there's always different ingredients on hand. Which is why I don't sell kimchi for a living. I just make it for my family. Are you aware that if you smash your garlic clove, you can just take the peel right off? If you're not, congratulations, you just got a super handy tip. If you are, well, that's awesome too. See, I just smash them with the flat of the knife. And then the little peel just pops right off. Woohoo! I am going to finish peeling this later and add it into the mix. But I'm not going to take up any more of your time watching somebody peel garlic, because that's kind of like watching paint dry. Okay. So we'll put the garlic. So far we have the garlic and the ginger in there. And then what else goes in? A shallot, which we don't have. 2 to 6 tablespoons of gochugaru. Okay, so we're using gochujang. And it's 2 to 6 tablespoons. So 2 times 4 would be 8. But 6 times 4 would be 24. That's a really big difference. I think we'll use 1. Yeah, I would probably kill everybody if I put that much in. That's probably 2, 3 because it was heaped. This is messy stuff. This is 4, 5. That's plenty. I don't want to kill any of my family members. I think this stuff is spicy. I'm not a fan, I gotta tell ya. Ooh. Ah! Okay, so it's really sweet and really spicy. No wonder my husband likes it. Okay, and very peppery. I think that's gonna be delicious. Okay. So we got garlic, no shallot, gochugaru, and 2 tablespoons of fish sauce. That I know I want to put in the proper amount. Okay, they wanted 2 tablespoons, and so we're going to multiply that times 4. 7. That's a lot of fish sauce. 8. Okay. And you know something I like to add? That gochugaru is still spicy in my throat, just so you know. Well, never mind. Can't find it. Pretend I didn't. Oh, here it is. Here it is. I have these dried pepper flakes. I really like working with them. And once they rehydrate, they're a really nice red color. So I'm going to add some of those too. That makes it pretty spicy. I usually just use like a teaspoon of these in a whole batch of chili. But okay. But I'm kind of a wimp. I'm not really a spicy food fan. And sugar. 2 teaspoons sugar. My sugar is a little brown. I like to use organic and minimally processed sugar. Okay. 2 teaspoons times 4. 1, 2, 3. I might use a little less. 4, 5, 6, because that gochugaru was sweet. 7. It's going to be a sweet batch of kimchi. That'll be a nice change of pace. Okay, that is everything that goes in the paste. So the paste, again, would have, in a perfect world, 24 cloves. Well, here's the recipe. The recipe for 2 pounds. 6 cloves of garlic, 1 shallot, 2 to 6 tablespoons gochugaru, and 2 tablespoons of fish sauce, and 2 tablespoons of sugar. And then we did the ×8 thing. And again, this is all based on availability. If you don't have something, don't sweat it. But the gochugaru is pretty important because that gives it that's like the only peppery taste I put in besides the flakes. So the gochugaru and the fish sauce are probably pretty important. Okay. So that's all that, right? Yeah. So we can put on the lid. Perfect. I just need a little bowl to put it in. So this is like our own special kimchi paste that we made. And this is going to get added into the cabbage after it's done its thing, submerged in the water for 8 hours or so. So that's how that looks. You can still see chunks of ginger, but it'll be nice because it can sit. We'll stick this little bowl in the fridge, and that will be able to sit, and the flavors will blend together. It'll be really good. So we'll cover this and put this in the fridge, and we'll cover the veggies and put that in the fridge. Again, the veggies, what did we have in here? Oh, just radishes and carrots. Oh, we didn't put in our 4 bunches of scallions. Okay, that's okay. Okay, excuse me. So this is the last thing I have to chop up. I'll need another bowl for that. There is a bowl. Now, let's make sure I get pretty sure I got all the dirt out. Like I said, I just pulled this out of the raised bed in the front yard. I tend to chop them up small because I think about using this on a sandwich. I like to take a couple slices of bread and some mayo and like a slice or 2 of turkey. A nice solid layer of kimchi makes a really good salad. Okay. So that's everything chopped up now. So we're going to let the cabbage do its thing, probably overnight. I don't know. It's going to be really nice today. I'm going to be outside all day, and this evening I'm probably not going to want to come back in the kitchen. So probably tomorrow morning, we'll put it together and put it into jars. Okay? Thanks. The first thing we want to do this morning is strain the brine out of the cabbage. And we're going to reserve it. So we strain it out into this pitcher. We won't need all of it, but I like to reserve all of it just in case. It's super salty. You can use the plate, fits down inside the bowl. You can push it down with a little bit of a press to get it to drain. Yeah, yesterday was like 70 degrees outside. So after I did that video, started this video, I took off on my motorcycle for a ride, and by the time I came home, I just wasn't feeling the getting in the kitchen work again. So that often happens with me, but it's okay. Kimchi is very patient. Okay, so now we can, if I had a bigger bowl, this would be a little more convenient, and I don't. But we can figure it out. We need to mix everything together. Okay, and then we're going to mix in the leeks, which are pretending they're scallions today. Okay, so we get all of those blended together. So we have, now in this bowl we have our cabbage, radish, carrots, and scallion / leek. Okay, and I think, given the huge quantity we have here, I'm going to add the paste once it's in the jars. We want this to be packed in pretty solidly. Go and leave a little bit of headroom for this. Okay, I'm going to add an appropriate amount of paste. I think I'm probably, given how much I just used, I bet I'm going to end up with 6 jars. So I'm going to put in about 1/6 of the paste, which is what I did, and then add back the broth that we reserved from the straining. And we just want to put in enough to cover the cabbage. There we go. And I just lost my lid. There it is. Okay, you can see it's already blending in there together. It has a lot more to do. So the next step is to set this aside. I have a little pan. I will show you. I use this tray, and then I set my jars in the corner on the counter where they won't be disturbed, and they need to sit for about 3 days. And I visit them a couple times a day just to make sure that they're not building up pressure. The lid can just be sitting on there modestly. It doesn't have to be tight or anything. And when you open it, you can open it and check on it, and you'll notice a very distinctive kimchi smell, and that's how you know it's ready. And then you can stick it in the fridge, and it seems to keep for quite a while. I'm not sure what the official keep time is for kimchi in the fridge. I'll look it up and then throw it up on the screen for you later. But yeah, that's your basic homemade kimchi. I think everybody does it a little differently. This is how I do it, and it seems to be delicious, so thought I'd share that with you. Thanks for watching.